up this morning, found a letter that she wrote. I had to stay away from you too long. No matter what the people say, I'm gonna love you anyway. You are my life. It's simple, I love it. Started when I was 9 years old. Woke up and daddy was gone. Girl, you know I loved you. If you're cool, then I'm cool, then we're cool. Baby, I'll be sitting here waiting on you. Quit your worrying, baby. The point of it all, I love you. Every part of me belongs to your love. Giving you the best of me. Ooh, amazing. Coming from where I'm from. Sometimes you get a little angry. You made a fool of me, and I can't let you go. Come home to me, Charlie.
Anthony Hamilton. His voice is raw, his lyrics cut deep, but the industry, it nearly swallowed him whole. His story isn't just about talent, it's about betrayal, resilience, and a fight against a system that didn't want him to win. Some say he was blackballed, others say he refused to play by the rules. But what really happened? Let's get into it. For years, Anthony Hamilton was celebrated as one of the most soulful voices of his generation. But despite platinum albums and a die-hard fan base, something changed. His name stopped appearing on the mainstream charts. The industry that once embraced him seemed to slowly push him out of the spotlight. Was it because he wouldn't conform? Or did something happen behind closed doors that forced him out? Because if you look closer at his career, the warning signs were always there. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. This is the untold truth about Anthony Hamilton's battle with the industry. Anthony Hamilton wasn't born into fame, fortune, or industry connections. He came from Charlotte, North Carolina, where music wasn't just a passion, it was an escape. His childhood wasn't easy. His mother struggled with alcoholism. His father was in and out of his life. Stability wasn't guaranteed, but one thing was: music. Gospel and soul shaped his sound early on. His voice wasn't just good, it was different, gritty, emotional, and deep. It carried pain, passion, and something mainstream R&B wasn't ready for yet. By his teenage years, he knew this was his way out. He sang in his high school choir, worked on his craft, and started writing music. But here's where his story takes a turn. Most artists get discovered in a club, on a mixtape, or through the right cosign. Anthony, he had to fight for it. In the early 90s, he took a leap of faith, packed his bags and moved to New York, chasing his dream. And it actually worked. For a moment, Uptown Records signed him. This was the same label that put artists like Jodeci, Heavy D, and Mary J. Blige on the map. Everything was lining up. But if you know anything about the music industry, success isn't promised. Uptown Records collapsed. The label shut down before his album could even drop. Just like that, his big break was gone. No record, no backup plan, no money. One day you're the future of R&B. The next, you're nobody. For most artists, that's the end of the road. Another talent lost to the industry's cold game. But Anthony Hamilton, he wasn't going down like that. And just when it seemed like his career was over before it even started, something unexpected happened. Just when it seemed like Anthony Hamilton's career had flatlined, an unexpected opportunity changed everything. He was invited to join D'Angelo's Voodoo Tour as a backup singer, a tour that would go down as one of the most legendary in R&B history. It was a lifeline, a second chance. And for fans who saw that tour live, Hamilton's voice wasn't just in the background, it was woven into the show's very soul. But here's what most people don't know. Hamilton played a major role in shaping the sound of that tour, but the credit, that went to others. Because in the music industry, some artists are meant to shine, while others are kept in the shadows. Still, this tour opened new doors. Suddenly, people were paying attention. Labels, producers, and executives started to see him as more than just a backup singer. And in 2003, after years of grinding behind the scenes, he got his shot. He signed with So Def and released Comin' From Where I'm From. That album changed everything. The title track became an anthem for struggle, pain, and resilience. And then came Charlene, the song that cemented his place in R&B history. It was raw, it was emotional, and it connected with people in a way that most R&B songs didn't at the time. The world had finally caught up to Anthony Hamilton's sound. Or so he thought, because behind the scenes, industry executives had other plans. Labels were shifting away from raw, soul-driven music. Auto-tune was taking over. R&B was becoming more commercial. The industry wanted radio-friendly hooks, club anthems, and crossover appeal. And Anthony? He wasn't that kind of artist. When the pressure came to change his sound, he refused. He wasn't interested in making the kind of R&B that labels could easily sell. He was staying true to himself. And in an industry that rewards obedience, that's a dangerous move. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that when an artist refuses to conform, the industry finds a way to push them out. And that's exactly what started happening to Anthony Hamilton. Anthony Hamilton wasn't playing the game the way the industry wanted him to. And that came at a price. By the mid-2000s, the sound of R&B was changing. The era of deep, soul-stirring music was fading, replaced by auto-tune, synthetic beats, and club anthems. Labels weren't looking for raw emotion anymore. They wanted hits that could dominate the charts. And that's when things started to shift for Hamilton. His music wasn't getting the same push. Despite dropping critically acclaimed albums, his songs weren't getting the same radio play as other R&B artists who fit the new industry mold. Why? Some say he was simply out of touch with the trends, but others believe he was quietly being blackballed for refusing to conform. Think about it. Platinum-selling artists don't just disappear from mainstream conversations overnight, unless someone makes sure they do. He wasn't the first artist to experience this. In fact, it's a pattern. Look at what happened to artists like Maxwell, India Arie, and Jill Scott. Real musicians with real talent, pushed to the sidelines while the industry focused on more marketable acts. Some insiders claim that labels stopped investing in his music, stopped promoting his albums, and let his momentum die on purpose. And then there was the backlash. Because Anthony Hamilton did something the industry really doesn't like, he spoke his mind. On social media, in interviews, and even on stage, he never held back. He called out the industry's double standards, the way real musicians were being overlooked, and he wasn't afraid to talk about social issues, even when it cost him fans. And in the music business, stepping out of line comes with consequences. Was he blackballed, or did the industry just move on without him? Either way, one thing was clear. He wasn't willing to change who he was to fit in. But the industry wasn't done with him just yet. Because what happened next? It made it clear that Anthony Hamilton wasn't going down without a fight. Anthony Hamilton wasn't just losing mainstream attention, he was getting called out. Not by fans, not by fellow artists, but by an industry that seemed to be slowly turning its back on him. And if there's one thing the industry doesn't like, it's an artist who won't stay in their lane. Over the years, Hamilton spoke his mind on everything from the state of R&B to politics and social issues. And the moment he started sharing his opinions publicly, the backlash started rolling in. Some fans were upset. There were comments like, "I love your music, but I can't support your views. Why do artists always have to get political?" Others straight up unfollowed him, showing just how fast support can disappear when an artist steps outside of what fans expect from them. But the industry's reaction? That was even more telling. Suddenly, he wasn't getting the same high-profile bookings. He wasn't getting major radio play, even though his music was still delivering the same soulful sound that made him famous. And while newer R&B artists were getting industry push and placements on streaming playlists, Hamilton was slowly being edged out. And here's the crazy part. He saw it coming. In interviews, he's talked about how the music business operates like a machine. It picks who it wants to push, and once you stop fitting their blueprint, you're done. They love you when you're trending, but the moment you stop playing by their rules, it's a different story. Some fans believe that's exactly what happened to Anthony Hamilton. Not because his music wasn't good, not because his talent faded, but because he wouldn't play the game. So was this backlash, or was this the industry sending a message? One thing was clear. Anthony Hamilton was no longer an industry favorite. But if they thought that would stop him, they clearly didn't know who they were dealing with. If the industry thought Anthony Hamilton would fade into the background, they were dead wrong. Because unlike so many artists who crumbled under industry pressure, he didn't just survive, he built his own lane. When labels stopped pushing his music, he took control of his career. Instead of chasing trends, he focused on his die-hard fan base. He started his own record label, My Music Box, so he could release music on his own terms. No interference, no executives telling him how to sound, and no industry middlemen deciding if his music was marketable enough. And guess what? His fans followed. Even without mainstream radio play, his concerts still sell out. His albums still debut high on the charts, and his influence in neo-soul and R&B remains undeniable. Hamilton's music has been sampled by hip-hop legends. His sound has inspired an entire generation of singers, and while the industry may not put him in the spotlight anymore, his impact speaks for itself. Because unlike so many artists who burn out, sell out, or fade away, Anthony Hamilton stayed true to himself, and that's what makes his story so powerful. Not every artist survives the industry. Some get broken by it, some get lost in it, and some, like Hamilton, find a way to beat it on their own terms. But here's the real question. If he had played the game, would he be an even bigger legend today? And more importantly, who's the next artist the industry will try to silence? Because make no mistake, this isn't just about Anthony Hamilton. It's a pattern. And if history has taught us anything, it's only a matter of time before the industry finds its next target. Anthony Hamilton survived the industry, the betrayals, and the backlash. But the game hasn't changed. We've seen this before. Artists who refuse to conform suddenly stop getting the recognition they deserve. Their music stops getting pushed. Their names fade from award nominations. And slowly but surely, they disappear from the mainstream. So the real question is, who's next? Is there another artist being blackballed right now? Someone the industry is quietly pushing out because they won't play by the rules? And more importantly, did Anthony Hamilton get blackballed, or did he simply refuse to sell out? Let us know what you think in the comments. Was this the industry's way of shutting him out, or was it just the natural shift in R&B? One thing's for sure, real soul music never dies. And as long as artists like Anthony Hamilton are still standing, the industry can try all they want, but they'll never erase real talent. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop your thoughts below. And if you're a fan of real R&B, make sure you're subscribed, because this industry has a lot more secrets, and we're exposing them one by one. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.